So this is the beginning of the Our Father. Our Father. Then who art in heaven. We start above. We can never lift ourselves by the lobes of our ears. We live in a horizontal world where we believe we help one another, but the real help that makes us new creatures and children of God has to come from above. Hence, Our Father who art in heaven. Hallowed be thy name. That means, may it be sanctified, may it be glorified, and may you be worshipped. Now, what is worship? For example, we think, well, why does God demand our worship? Is he sitting up there in a golden throne, waiting for us as obedient servants of him to prostrate ourselves before him in worship? Is that the meaning of worship? No. Now, how often, for example, a little girl in the springtime, girl about 3 or 4, will go out into the garden, into the yard, and pick up dandelions. And bring dandelions into the mother. Now let me tell you that those dandelions are a bore to the mother. She wouldn't admit it. She doesn't need the dandelions. But has any mother in the world, when she's taken these dandelions, ever thrown them out into the garbage? No, she said, oh, how nice of you, dear, you love me, don't you? And so the mother accepts that worship in order to train the daughter to be loving. Now that's what worship is. In the theater, for example, we applaud. Applaud means worthful. That's worship. Now, a week ago Sunday, I gave a retreat to about 1,200 actors and actresses in New York at the Majestic Theater. The retreat lasted all day. And about 6 or 7 times during the day, I would come out and talk to all of these people who were so trained in the theater. Well, unlike other audiences, on the stage they appreciate applause. They live by applause. So they think that anyone who appears on the stage must live by it too. So very often in the course of a talk, they would interrupt what I was saying by applause. Why? Because it was a manifestation of worthfulness. That's what worship is. God doesn't need it. We need it. So hallowed be thy name. Now thus far, our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done. These two phrases go together. Now we priests who are used to reading the Psalms and the Scriptures have always noticed in the Scriptures the balance of phrase. For example, in the Psalms you'll find a sentence, thy statutes, O Lord, are good. Then the other half, thy commandments are wise. In the second half, we say the same idea as we do in the first, but we just put it in different words. So in the Our Father, these two phrases, thy kingdom come, thy will be done, mean practically the same. How do we get into the kingdom of God? By doing his will. Now, many are going to get into the kingdom of God because they're doing his will according to their lights. But suppose we do not do his will. My finger pointed vertically signifies the will of God because it points to heaven. My finger horizontally represents my will because it's earthy and flat. Suppose I take my will and put it across God's will. When I do that, I get physically across. Psychologically, I get a complex. That's how we get mixed up. Now, I hope I have a pencil here. I'll use that as an illustration, too. Here is a pencil. Is this pencil good? Yes, it's good pencil. Why? Because it writes. That's the way you know when anything is good, if it fulfills the purpose for which it is made. When, therefore, I want this pencil to write God, it writes the word God. Suppose this pencil had a will of its own. And suppose when I wanted to write the word God, it wrote the word dog. I couldn't do anything with it. That is why when we fail to live up to God's law, He can't use us. As I couldn't use this pencil. We lack His power. And the more effective any person is in the church and in the world depends upon his relatedness to being under the hand of God so that He can use us as instruments. Or to give you another example, suppose I try to open a tomato can with this pencil. Now, I do my own cooking, so I'm used to opening cans, but not with pencils. And I'm a terrible cook. Betty Crocker one day saw me cooking, and threw a brick through the window. Suppose now I tried to open a tomato can with this pencil. One, I wouldn't open the can. And two, I would ruin the pencil. So when we try to achieve happiness in some other way than a God-appointed way, suppose by drugs or alcohol, vice, anything of that kind, we think we're going to get a lot of pleasure out of it, but actually we never get the pleasure we intended and we hurt ourselves. Thus the prayer, "Thy kingdom come, thy will be done," means that we enter into the kingdom of God by doing His will, and that makes us happy. This is the secret of peace. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Notice that the petitions of the Our Father have a division in the middle. The first three petitions refer to the heavenly, to God. Then we get this middle one. We can't live without bread. So we appeal to God for our daily subsistence. Give us this day our daily bread. But it could also mean, and there is a suggestion of it in the original, in the gospel, give us this day our supersubstantial bread, namely the Eucharist. So very often the apostles misunderstood our blessed Lord when He spoke of bread. When they were crossing the lake in the storm, they became frightened, and our blessed, in the gospel, gives the explanation. They did not take account of the mystery of the bread, of the miracle of the bread, when our blessed Lord multiplied the loaves and fishes in order to remind them that He had power to give us the bread of life.